All right, it's Matt with MB Whips. We're here in the Expedition with our interior light kit. Just going to show you a little bit about how it works. We've got our dual switch panel that replaces the factory dome light. And you can see we've got a main power switch that turns the main power on and off to the controller. Now this is powered by the factory wiring, so you do need key on in order for this to work. But you can turn the strips on through that switch, and then this is the white override, which is it's labeled as dome. You flick that switch and it'll go to a bright white if you need functional light in here. So that's how that switch works, and this is wired, like I said, to the factory wiring, but we've got our controller ran through here, and it's mounted right up here, right in front of the driver's seat, with the adhesive pad that comes with the kit to the underside of the plastic roof. So you can mount it there, and it connects to the very first strip in the daisy chain right here. And it basically, the daisy chain continues as it goes through the strip. We run an extension from there back to this strip, and it goes back to this location right behind the driver's seat, and then they daisy chain to each other, and go on and so forth, all the way to the very back kit right there. So it's just one long daisy chain for these interior lights. All right, now we're going to detail a couple of the tools you'll need to install this kit. The first thing you'll need is a T30 wrench or socket to take out all of these bolts. They're all T30s. Keep track of them though. Some of these are like a coarse threaded bolt or screw for the plastic on the underside of the roof. Some of these up here are like a tighter thread because they're going into fittings in the support for the felt. So just keep an eye on that. Keep those separate. The rest of these are all pretty much the same screw in the rest of the kit. Now, the other thing you'll need, in order to tighten these bolts, you'll need a 3/32 hex driver. Now, you don't have to use a driver like this. You can use regular Allen wrenches, but that is what size these bolts are that come in your kit. And then, of course, just use some pliers on the other side when you are tightening that. There will be a washer as well that sits on the back side of the felt liner to help, grab more of the material. And there will be grommets that you can use for the holes. Now, I drilled these holes with a 1/2" drill bit, and kind of after you drill through, kind of just move it around a little bit, try to get any of the extra felt that'll come up, to try to clean it up, and then drop your grommet in, and it'll look nice and clean like this does. And then when you are doing these holes, I used a 5/32 drill bit just to put your hole through the felt liner so that your screw can pass through. Now, of course, I did this with the felt liner removed from the vehicle. You don't really want to be drilling up into the machine while it's installed. So you'll take the felt liner off and then line up your panels, or sorry, your rails wherever you see fit. You can measure between these indentations here, which is what we did. We tried to keep it pretty center, and then we tried to keep it center on this line too, so you can determine what measurement. If you want it close to the front or up closer to the top, that's totally up to you. Just try to make it look as symmetrical as possible, and then repeat that process on all of the 3 rails that are going into the felt liner. Now, as far as mounting locations, I just want to show you a couple of different options. So we set ours up with 2 strips for the interior and 2 strips for the back seat. Now, that's a great option, but if you do not want this one to be in front of your point of view as the driver, you can actually put this front strip right on this rail where the second strip is in my kit, and then run this strip right on this flat side under here, bolting it to the underside of this little bulge coming down, and you can still keep your third strip on the back side. So it would basically have 3 strips in this section, one facing down and forward, one straight down, and one back towards your rear passengers, and then your final one you can still put on that back rail. Now, when it comes to mounting, all of these front 3 strips are all just mounted with a nut and a bolt going through the felt liner, and there's a washer on the back side. We don't have one pictured here, but we also supply you with grommets to cover this hole so it looks a little cleaner. Now, back here on the back post, there's no flat, strong section in the felt to mount to. So what we've provided you with actually is a self-tapper. Just two self-tapper screws, one that goes here in the end and one on the other end. And you can tell your very last strip apart from the others because this one does not have another daisy chain extension. It's designed to just be power to be the end of your daisy chain. So you'll just put your self-tapper screw through here and through the other end, and that'll hold it firm to that rail. All right, we're going to go ahead and show you how to wire up your switch panel for the interior light kit. This is a dual switch panel with our main power and our dome override switch on there. You're going to start with your factory wire coming from Polaris on your dome light, your factory dome light connector. Now in this particular instance, I'm just going to use this spare wire as a placeholder for your factory wiring. Normally you'll have a little 3-pin connector here that you disconnect from your factory dome light, but we're just going to use this as a stand-in. And we are going to be using these little splice terminals. Now these are pretty simple to use. Basically all you do is line up your wire into this little channel. You can see that little void there. We're just going to line this up into that channel and bring this connector over, or sorry, this clamp over, and click it in. You can use pliers if you want, or use your hands, either way. I'll just show you with some pliers. Have a little set here, and you'll hear it click. There you go. So now we are spliced into that power connection. Now we're going to do the same on our ground. So we'll just go ahead and clamp it just the same way. Use our pliers. And we're good. Okay, so now we've got our spliced power and ground. Now the next step is going to be tying that into our switch panel itself. Now, when you look on the back side of this switch panel, this is already going to be pre-wired when you get your kit. We've got one spade terminal and two crimp terminals. We're going to start with this spade terminal. That is going to tie in to the red, or the power spade terminal coming from, the splice terminal that we just added to the factory harness, and you just slide that in and you're good to go. The next connection we're going to do is take this spare wire, this loose wire that's going to be in your kit. It has the same male spade terminal on it that we just used, and we're going to tie that into the ground splice connection and tie it in just like so. Okay, and now we've got our power and our ground for our main controller, and we've got one thing left to do. On this ground wire here, we've got it, it's actually like a crimp butt connector. We've got it crimped to one side. Now we need to tie it in to our Pro RGB controller, and these are the leads that you're going to see for the power and ground on that controller. We are going to basically get this in there, slide it in, and then you can take your same pliers and crimp that connection on to the ground. So now that'll give us our ground for our main controller. And now we're going to move on to this power wire. This power wire is going to be found on the back of your switch panel under the power switch. So this spade terminal you have here, the red one, or sorry, not spade terminal, but the butt style crimp connection is going to be open and available, and you'll just slide that in and then crimp it. You also can hit these butt connectors with a heat gun, and it will shrink this shrink tubing down and seal this connection for you if you'd like. You can just crimp them if you want. There shouldn't be a whole lot of moisture or water since we're on the underside of your roof, but you can do that if you decide to. Once you've got that one crimped, we've only got one wire left, and that is our coming out of the backside of our dome override switch, and it is the black wire. And this is actually going to tie into our Pro RGB controller as well. this function wire harness that you're going to see coming from your ProRGB controller, we are going to be using this white wire. Now this is the wire that we're utilizing to basically override whatever color pattern you're in and go to a fixed white. And you're just going to slide this one into this black wire, or into this butt connector, and go ahead and crimp that down, and you can hit that again with the heat gun, and that is the entire wiring for your interior light switch panel. Okay, now once you've got your ProRGB controller and your switch panel all wired up, the only thing you're really going to have left to connect is your ProRGB controller to your actual LED rails. Now we are going to supply you with 4 of these extensions. Typically you'll have enough room to mount this in the factory where the factory dome light was and still be able to reach this to the front of the vehicle. I'll post up a picture of where we mounted it to ours. From here, you're just going to connect this 3-pin female connector to your LED rail. So we've got the male connector right there, and you can just tie this in and start your daisy chain. And utilizing the strip rail on the other end, there's going to be another female connection, and that is where you can either hook up your extension wires. In our install, we had to use 1 extension between each rail, and you can run this extension back to your next rail, and they'll just daisy chain to each other all the way back. Okay, now we've walked you through installing all your wiring on your switch panel cover, but I just wanted to show you here in the vehicle what it's going to look like. This is your factory 3-pin connector for your factory dome light. And as you can see, you've got a red and black wire and a brown wire. This is your power, this is your ground, and we've got our splice terminals on each of those respectively. And we've got our 3 crimp connections here, one of which going to power and ground going to the controller, that's to the ProRGB controller, and this final 3rd one is going to the white wire, which is the reverse light circuit on the ProRGB controller, and that's our dome override switch. So you can see we're plugged into these locations on the back side of the switch panel, power and ground, and then we've got our dome light. So that should be everything you need to install yours.